Okay, this is the Mercy video for defense. The only reason I'm using Farah is so that she can get three-dimensional mobility just like Mercy does when she's flying to teammates, but since there are no teammates on this map, obviously Mercy can't, be used the same way. So basically for this particular strategy on defense, we're going to have the Orisa here. Orisa is really successful because she can provide shield pressure and boop potential, which is like the biggest part. She can like get all of the boops and get the 3Ks and all that sort of stuff. And she's also got this, which is the balconies and a shield. It's virtually immortal. Well, it is immortal. Okay, and yeah, so we're going to have her here. We're going to have D.Va start off here, and the reason she's going to start off here is so that she can basically just scout what the other team has. And then if they have anything that's going to damage her, like probably will, hit scan, Widow, Hanzo, blah blah blah, all that sort of shit, then she can move back to this point. And the reason she moves back to this point is so that she can, if they have a Reinhardt and he uses Fire Strike, whatever you call it, his shift ability, then she can defense matrix, and that's particularly helpful. If she can use defense matrix onto the Orisa, and then we're also going to have our Junkrat who will be standing about here. So he'll be providing potential damage onto this plateau, also damage onto their main, because he can shoot his projectiles through this gap because they're arcing projectiles. And we're going to have our Zen and our Hanzo positioned probably around here, like here at the start, and I'm leaning towards thinking having them here when the payload gets around. And as Mercy, you're just going to be sort of fluttering in between them all. Anyway, sort of next stage. So we get pushed back a bit. Orisa's got her shield here. You're going to have Junkrat here. So he'll be standing here, and the reason he's doing that is so that he can shield himself with this wall at the same time as get ricochet shots off. And if he's being a bit more aggressive, like if someone comes in, like a Widow comes in or something like that, he can try and 1v1. And we're also going to have our D.Va here as well, who's providing shots over the Rhine shield or Orisa shield. And the reason that the D.Va here is going to be really good is because A, she's a tank, B, she has splash damage that goes over a shield, so the squishy is going to be a little bit more hurt, which is what you want. And our Zen is going to be here because he's got access to cover, he's got access to LOS on teammates and enemies for Discord and Harmony, and he's got access to a health pack, which is particularly helpful. And if he needs to reposition, then he can do so without much in the way of risk. The only way that it would be risky is if there's like a flanker that's somehow found their way into this room, which is kind of unlikely. The main concerns that he has to worry about is high ground, the long sight line, main, and then people from these two positions. So yeah, your Orisa, her first shield is going to be at that corner, second shield at this corner, third shield at this corner. Not third, but like in terms of the third position for shields is going to be here. And the reason you have that is because A, shields you from here, high ground and main. If you're playing here, it'll probably shield you as well, but it won't shield you from these positions. So as Zen, you'll probably want to go through here. And on this defense stage, we're going to have our probably Hanzo, maybe Junkrat up here. And our D.Va is going to be fluttering between high ground as well. So as Mercy, you're going to be able to sort of go between 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, red point, blue point, etc. If we're defending like just 0.1 meters before they get here, you are going to be just fluttering around, sort of probably around here, I would say, because that way you can stand back from all of the stuff that's happening, all of the aggro that Orisa is probably going to be getting, at the same time as being able to jump up and heal your D.Va, who's going to be on high ground, and maybe Hanzo as well, or Junkrat, sort of depends. And then still we have access to everyone. Okay, say they push more. Orisa's going to set up her shield on the right side of this, and the reason she's going to set it up on the right side is so that she can shield these this door. You know, she's got a shield set up on the left. It doesn't really help you if you're standing here, which is where our Zen's going to be. Maybe where our Hanzo is going to be if Zen's getting dived or something like that. Yeah, and also it's a really good place right here to put bongos because it accesses the majority of your team, if not everyone on your team, and the enemy team can't hit it unless they literally walk forward and hit the thing. So, given that, what's in mind is that the things we're going to be weak against are a Reinhardt and Lucio comp. In that, you know, if they have enough heals, sort of like we did last week, where we played against like triple tank, triple support, and one of them was Lucio, and they just walked into us. And they did it successfully. So the reason behind us sort of setting up shop here is that we've got our main tank who's contesting on the bridge. We've got our Zen who is in close range of a health pack and cover, and then we've got maybe our D.Va will probably be around here so that she can access here, access our Zen, access our front line, and she's got that perfect middle ground. Also, it's in like a fairly good range for her to keep shooting and actually do damage instead of just tickle people. And then our DPS might be up here, or maybe have one here, one here, one here, one here, something like that. But we just want to utilize high ground, is basically what I'm saying. Say for this phase, say if they've, you know, they've finally conquered the bridge and they're making their way down town, we're probably going to have a Hanzo here because he's got super long sightlines of these canopies, and he's also got sightlines over the bridge, over this entire lane, and at the same time, the reason that this is a really good spot is that he can shoot people that are coming down. He can still, you know, do his wall climb back up here, and it's fairly safe for him. Our Junkrat might be here as well, or he'll be with our Orisa doing like main shield damage and that sort of thing. Or he might be here actually. That's sort of the second thought that I had, was that he'll either, if it's necessary, if they're a particularly flanky team, he'll be shutting them down here because he can help shut down here with Hanzo and help Hanzo get value. He can also shut down this flank here. He can shut down if anyone comes, you know, any of these 5 doors, basically. And that way he can also still regain his team. So basically, as Mercy, when the shield is here, and the shield's here, you're going to be sort of fluttering around between like your Hanzo, who'll be here, he'll probably come up here if he needs healing. Your Junkrat will probably be here or around here. And we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doors or 5, you know, spaces covered. So you'll be sort of fluttering around doing your thing, and we're trying to utilize as much high ground as possible. For when we've gotten around here, they've pushed forward, and we've got our shield on this corner. We're going to have our Junkrat and our D.Va up here. And the reason we're going to have that is because Junkrat can get some really good value from standing here, because he can get rebounds onto their backline. He can still do shield damage. He can probably get rebounds off this box as well, these boxes, sorry. And he can get rebounds off these walls, these yellow walls. So he can shut down flanks pretty damn well. You know, if someone's at that mega, he can shoot at that mega by rebounding off this building. And that's just a practice thing on his part. But him and D.Va, D.Va's also going to be here providing that vertical damage, because if their enemy Reinhardt, say, is like trying to focus on the other main tank, he can't actually see up there, so he's just going to be irritated. His attention is going to be split, and that's sort of what we want. So you as Mercy will probably be fluttering around between, you know, the 2 or 3 people that are, you know, you've got your Orisa here, you probably have Zen here, like, you know, with this corner, so you can get off some really good right clicks and still have cover, and still retreat to somewhere where he has cover. Or he's going to be here. As the other thought is that he can get like really good tubing in, and I say tubing because it's like he's shooting through a tube. And we're going to have our more mobile DPS being Junkrat, and our mobile tank being here, so they can make their way. You know, Junkrat can do his thing like that, and D.Va can just boost. And D.Va is going to be here because she can boost to help the Zen if he's here or there, depends. She can access every single person and still provide that irritating damage from above, which is what we want. Okay, so say we have like just hit this corner. So we're not right there yet, but we need to sort of retreat a little. You know, we can't really use these stairs anymore, all that sort of stuff. And so our team's sort of been relegated to here. We're probably going to end up having a Junkrat here. Like our Orisa shield will probably have to be here so that she's contesting the point, like body blocking on the point. Our Junkrat's probably going to be here so he can get damage into this area and still get ricochets off these walls, which is really beneficial. And then we're probably going to have our D.Va here. And the reason we're going to have our D.Va here is that if they decide, the enemy, that they're going to walk in and all that sort of stuff, she can just walk here and start shooting down on them, which is really, really good. Because if we're above someone, it's so much easier to aim down at a person than it is to aim up at a person. You know, if you're aiming up and all that sort of stuff, you have to deal with all that weird geometry of spherical aim rotation, whereas if you're looking down, it's just a lot easier and you can sort of dictate how they're positioned in relation to you. Also because you have a better sense of where you are, whereas if they're looking up, they're seeing a roof, and that's sort of hard. So you'll be fluttering around here, you know? You'll be like sort of standing here, healing your D.Va, your Hanzo, damage boosting him, all that sort of stuff, or here, damage boosting and healing people here. And that's also really helpful, is that if they grab, if the enemy team grabs, say if the enemy team is standing here, like for the most part, right? You've got one team member right here, you've got one team member here, another here, and then you've got two up here. That's actually really good, right? Because it means if they grab, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to catch everyone in the grab. And you as Mercy are going to be back here healing them all, preferably at max range, and that makes sense. So yeah, next stage is here. So defense, Orisa's going to have her shield set up on this because there's like a little bit of overhang that she gets. And she'll also be able to put bongos down safely at the same time as shielding from damage here, here, and here. So that's really good. Junkrat is going to start off around here, but then as soon as they start progressing up the hill, obviously that's sort of a dangerous spot for him, so he's going to retreat into these arcades, which we're trying to make Junkrat's like zone. Because it's got such good rebound potential, we're trying to make this like Junkrat's fucking area where he just gets all the good shit done. So, you know, from here he can shut down that hallway, shut down these entrances by like rebounding off the lip, and he can still provide like main damage, or even, you know, provide like ricochet damage if he really tried to like hit these walls and get rebound damage onto their backline. But that's for the Junkrat video. So yeah, and then we're going to have our Junkrat in arcades. We're going to have our Orisa here on main contesting payload. Our Zen is probably going to be here. And the reason we'd have him here and not somewhere closer is just so that there's time to react to flankers, and so that our DPS, being our Junkrat and our Soldier or Hanzo, whoever's, you know, whichever, or McCree, you know, it sort of depends on if Hanzo's being effective or not, then they'll be over here. And that way, their positioning can scout and shut down galleries, because you can see through these windows.
Hello.
And that's really useful. So you'll be able to shut down the galleries, and as Mercy, you'll just sort of be, I would probably suggest being about here, because you're close to flankers, yes, but if they go in the middle of your team comp, then they're more likely to get shot on. You know, if you're standing here, you've got a DPS there, a DPS here, and your tanks here. Like part one, your team is split up enough that that's a really good thing, so it means that their grav value, let's say, is sort of lessened. You're also with your Zen, which is useful. You have, you know, places to fly to, but you can also probably reach Orisa from here and then just sort of tether with that. I've forgotten what the cutoff time is once you've tethered to someone and looking around the wall. But anyway, you know the stats behind that because you're a numbers person. If this is Andy watching this. Yeah, and then around here, I'm sort of thinking that depending on how effective Mercy is, if it gets particularly brawly, then maybe Moira, swapping to Moira might work. It's obviously your call. Depends how like 2 CP-ish it gets. But the idea is that we still have Junkrat very much claiming this area. You know, the things that make pushing as an attacking team, the things that make pushing through to the very end of a fairly like stale point like this, and I say stale because there's not much in the way of high ground. You know, you sort of resort to brawling a lot more, or diving, or just being really sort of boring with your tactics, which is fine. It means that we can take advantage of it. But the things that make it easier as the attacking team are if you can push this and you've set up, if you've got secure flanks, right? Because say if the attacker has this flank safe, if that's in their possession, and they've got this flank in their possession as well, they can set up a crossfire, which means that our tanks from here are like, oh shit, I'm getting shot at from both sides, and they have to retreat, and they're giving up free space. So one thing that we want to do on the defending team is probably more so help our Junkrat and stay in this corner. And the reason that we want to stay a bit more in this corner is that if they have a Widow or something like that, they're going to get so much, like, look at that sight line. You know, you want to cut off their angles as much as possible. If you're standing here, they can't even get in from main until they get into the arcades, right? They can't even get a line of sight on you. They can from here, but you're still, you know, you're still able to like fly to people, and you know, if you've got a Hanzo or soldier here, you can fly to him and you've got cover. You've got your tanks at main and you can fly to cover there. This is like a good spot for them. And then the brawl happens, all that sort of stuff. If Mercy becomes a bit less useful because she's just used Valk and they're still brawling or something like that, obviously like change to a Moira, get those heals in and still pressure their tanks and all that sort of stuff. Use your damage orb to like kill squishies, blah blah blah, all that sort of shit. But you know, you can figure that out. Yeah, and that's Mercy.